Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Destina. This is Spiritually Bougie Astrology, and we're going to be taking a look at the astrological transits for June 26th through July 2nd. However, before we get into the upcoming transits, I owe everybody an explanation. For those of you that don't follow me on Twitter or you don't follow my Facebook page, last weekend, during the new moon energy, Saturday morning, I recorded the weekly podcast. By noon, I was done. I was trying to get everything uploaded. And when I'm telling you, my upload was the absolute slowest upload ever. I mean, it didn't finally upload into the cloud system until roughly midnight. I was done by noon. It was over 12 hours to upload. If you know about last weekend, right around midnight for Central Standard Time, so my time, that's when the new moon perfected. Now, if you know anything about the news, as soon as that new moon perfected, Oklahoma got hit with a huge squall line of storms. They literally perfected over my area right as the new moon hit. I can't even make that up. There were storms all throughout the day that were going through eastern Oklahoma, through central, and then once they got to western Oklahoma, then central. Then once they got to the eastern part of Oklahoma, we had higher winds than the other parts had. Higher winds, and I mean like up to 120 mile per hour winds. So we were going between, F0 to F2 winds. We had 3 F1 tornadoes. We had over 900 power poles get completely splintered. If you go through like the middle parts of Tulsa, so Midtown Tulsa, it's one of the oldest areas of town, and it is loaded with established trees. Those things are broke. You can't go down a single street in the city of Tulsa, and this isn't a small town. This is a major city. You can't go down a single street in the city of Tulsa and not see tree limbs and broken trees, or seeing damage to homes from broken trees and from the winds. And the thing is like when that all happened, over 300,000 people lost power. I was fortunate enough, I didn't lose power, but I did lose internet. However, when storms hit, my Mars in Cancer comes out really fast, and my mode switched. I went from astrologer and spiritual person to helping people, which is still spirituality, of course, but physically helping people. My neighbor's fence fell down. I had my own repairs to do. My friends had repairs. If they needed help and they needed extra tarps, they needed something like that, I showed up. That's just kind of the way that I roll sometimes. So by the time all that was done, and even though I didn't lose power completely, we still had rolling power outages, and we even had them going into yesterday when I tried to record this episode last time. Get to that here in a second. We still had just like moments of like rolling power outages. Nothing was stable. And that's such a Sun-Neptune dynamic. Nothing was stable. In a lot of ways, these Neptune squares, this new one with the sun and the next one with Mercury that we are actually going through this weekend, which I'm about to get into, they're meant to shroud a situation. It's meant to cloud a judgment. It's meant to confuse us. It's meant to distract us. It's very much a smoke and mirror thing for a lot of people. And the thing is like if you had a good momentum going and you got hit by something last weekend, like the storm, like what I had, then literally there were parts of the week that followed the new moon, followed the Sun-Neptune square, that took your attention elsewhere, that kept something from actually happening. Some of us, we were our own roadblock in the situation. I'm like, that just sounds too good to be true, and I'm not going to listen to you. I don't believe your lies anymore. I don't believe your bullshit anymore. And we suddenly became very disillusioned. Many of us became very disillusioned with another person, disillusioned with a situation, disillusioned with a connection. Not everybody was disillusioned, though. Some people completely fell for all of it. And that Sun-Neptune square that perfected last weekend became very romanticized. It flooded our senses. It clouded our judgment. And suddenly we were all rosy, and it's all, rose-colored lenses, rose-colored glasses. And like, oh, it's going to be so wonderful. It's going to be so great. It's not a Disney movie, babies. Energies fade. Energies can be very temporary, and then we go to other things. Speaking of other things, yesterday, I tried to record this episode. Not kidding. And as soon as I sat down, I'm like 5 minutes into the recording, power shortage, power outage, whatever you want to call it. Lose power for a little bit. Whenever it comes back on, I try to record again. What's going on as I'm recording again? My AC went out. And I'm like, crap, I hope I didn't blow a fuse. It's the weekend. So I have to stop again. Go deal with that for a little while. And then after a while, you're just kind of like, I am disillusioned. I'm sick of this shit. That's another way to say disillusioned, by the way. I'm sick of this shit. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to play in the mud. I'm going to play in the garden. I'm going to go do something else. There is a disillusionment. There is a confusion. There is a cloud. There is a questioning that a lot of us are in. We're either tired of something going the way that it is, we're sick of somebody's shit, or we're completely enthralled by it. The problem I have with Sun, Neptune, and Mercury, Neptune squares when we're enthralled by it is that it's so easy to be deceived. The wool gets pulled over your eyes. It is so easy to fall for pranks, putting it lightly, deception, fraud, lies, manipulation, theft. One of the things I'm going to continue to use this storm that I had last weekend as an example. One of the first things I always see whenever it comes to storm situations like that is that people come out of the woodwork looking for an opportunity. Now, some people are looking for an honest opportunity because they're honest people and they want to actually help. Others are wanting to take advantage of your situation. And that's the side that I hate. Because as soon as the storms hit and they took out power and people, your cameras, and if you have your security cameras tied to your cloud system, they sure as shit weren't working. That's for damn sure. People broke into businesses. People started breaking into homes, especially if those people had to leave their homes for a few days because they had no power. So they were able to go stay with a family member, or they actually found a hotel that had power still. And then what was going on is while they were distracted over here trying to create a temporary routine, either in their family member's home or in a hotel, their home is vacant. It is vacant and is being left to an opportunity. Some of those people, even today when I'm recording, and I'm actually recording on the 25th, the morning of, some of those people are just now going home. And the transits from the weekend that we're going from into Monday, so the 23rd, the 24th, the 25th, going into the 26th, some of the things that started to build up on Thursday and Friday and Saturday, they're going to hit a head somewhere between Sunday and Monday. And the reason they are is because of how heavy the transits are. Now, Neptune square Mercury perfects Sunday evening, but we're still going to be feeling it on Monday. The Saturn-Uranus square also perfects Sunday night going into Monday. So there is a disruption and a distraction and an energy that is going to come through for a lot of people Sunday, the day that I'm recording this. Fingers crossed that everything continues to go right. Some of us are about to be hit with the distractive energy, and we're going to have a very confused conversation. We're going to get very confusing news, frustrating news, misunderstood information. Some of us are going to be dealing with something with the Uranus square to Mars, and what I really look at whenever it comes to this is what does Mars rule in your chart and what does Uranus rule in your chart? So for those that are really, really new to this, I read from a whole house system, which means whatever sign your ascendant is, that entire sign is your first house. I don't care if your ascendant is at 1 degree or 28 degrees, the entire sign is your first house. And every numerical house that follows is now associated with the next zodiac sign. So what does Aquarius rule in your chart from a whole house system? What does Scorpio and Aries rule in your chart from a whole house system? There is going to be a distraction in one of two directions. It's either going to be a sudden thing because of Uranus, a sudden thing come through, a out of the box, technological in some way. Some people are going to get like a message over the internet. They're going to be getting a phone call. These are all very much Uranus things, but they're also Mercury things because they're communication. There's some type of communication that's meant to come through. Mercury is squaring Neptune. That's why I brought that part up. There's a communication, most likely through technology. There's a news report. There's something that comes through these few days that are meant to be disruptive, that are meant to be distracting, that are meant to create chaos, that are meant to be a part of a very pivotal turn because we're talking about Mars. In a normal situation, I wouldn't put so much of a heavy dynamic into this, but the thing is, Mars rules Scorpio and Aries. Right now, the South Node is in Scorpio. But in less than a month, literally less than a month, if I had got to upload last week's podcast, I would have said, Monday, we're 30 days out, because that's where it was. So now we're 3 weeks until the nodes change signs, and there is the transition of the dynamics that are becoming very much more apparent in our energy. And a lot of people, I can't make this up. There's been a few people this last week, even whenever I'm doing like storm cleanup and the messes and everything else. Sorry, I had to get my words there. I was also still taking certain calls. If it had to do with a chart, I probably didn't have it. I probably wasn't pulling up and I probably wasn't going that way. But whenever it came to just somebody needing a question or needing to talk, I could do that. As long as I had cell service, I could do that. And the thing is like, I had a couple people that I felt like I was talking off of a ledge. You can read in that all you want to. This is going on to YouTube, so I have to be somewhat clear, but I'm also being as transparent as possible. There's a few people that the questioning that Neptune was imposing on people between the Sun square to Neptune and now Mercury square to Neptune, the questioning that has been coming through has been about people's decisions, about their purpose, where they want to go in life, what they're doing with their life. Are they wasting away? Are they wasting their time? Did they make the right decisions? Did they make the wrong decisions? There's so many questions that internally we just feel like there has to be some kind of answer. Over the weekend, going into Monday, there can be an event that leads to this types of questioning. There can be a distraction or a disruption that leads to questioning others and their methods and their purpose and what they're doing. There are questions in the air, but the questions aren't necessarily coming from another person. They can more so just be coming from inside, that internal questioning. Why did I do this? How did I end up here? Where am I going? What am I going to do next? Why does everything keep happening? Why can't I get this accomplished? And the thing is like the more things fall against you, the more things that are shaking up the system and keeping you from getting to where you want to go, the more we deal with that, the more we have to realize that the universe is saying, whatever you're doing right now, it's either not the right time, depending on the situation, or you're not on the right path. And that's where people like me can really start to help. And I'm not trying to pitch myself here, but I am still saying like your birth chart tells you a lot of things in regards to like where you're meant to go in this lifetime and how things are going to go through. So understanding that if the energy feels like everything is pushing against you, that's because you're not in alignment. Now, sometimes when the things are pushing against you, you know that you are in alignment and it's just like, I just want to get this done. Why can't I get this done? I know I'm supposed to be doing this. The reason we can't get those things done is because just because you know and you're ready doesn't mean everybody else knows and that they're ready. Some of the things that have happened over the course of the last year have been meant to show us as individuals, yes, here's your path, but this isn't your person. This isn't your tribe. This isn't who you do this with. This isn't where you do this. This is what you need to do, but you still don't know how. Therefore, you must take the steps to learn how. Whether that's being self-taught, utilizing YouTube to the nth degree, reading, going back to school, going to get some type of training or certification, whatever that is, the universe right now is either in a mix of like making you question your identity, your decisions, your self-worth, your direction, your path, because you're not on the right path, or it's slowing you down. If you know you're on the right path, especially, it's slowing you down because you are not meant to go faster than everybody else. And my Gemini placements hate that. It's like, I would like fast stuff. Come on, let's go. Let's go. All right. I'm going to pull the screen. We're going to get into Monday. And we're going to talk about the transits that are carrying over from Sunday a little bit more. And I'm showing you on the screen now. So for those of you that are listening on Spotify, I have the screen at June 26th of 2023 at 6:53 a.m. It's going to be 6:53 a.m. the whole way through because I'm not adjusting this by minute. I will continue to just adjust the charts and everything by hour. So we are just past the quarter moon by the time we get to 6 a.m. my time tomorrow morning, so Central Standard Time. Overnight, the quarter moon perfects. That means there's a buildup in the energy. For some people, this can spark some anxiety. We can kind of feel the vibration. We can feel something picking up. And this quarter moon is perfecting right as Uranus and Mars perfected their square, because that again happened overnight, Sunday going into Monday. And right after Neptune and Mercury perfected their square, again, that actually perfected on Sunday. And by the time we get to the next morning, they're a full degree apart, but we're still in the energy. We're still in the mode. We're still dealing with the situation. The news that came through between Neptune square to Mercury could literally be the disruption that leads into Monday with the Uranus Mars square. Suddenly I had like a 2021 PTSD moment, almost said Saturn Uranus squares, and I don't want to do those again for a while. Anyways. So what does Uranus rule in your chart? For some people, this is going to be your career, and especially if you're like a Leo rising, like this can be something that really affects like your future and your independence, and this can be very, very motivating. If you are a Pisces rising, this can be like having to deal with like a sudden change in communication, a sudden adjustment with one of your siblings, something disruptive in regards to like short distance travel that impacts either your health or the health of somebody else. There can be some type of news or communication that has just recently came through that is again impacting health, impacting work, and impacting your purpose. There are things that are meant to really be shaken up from the weekend going into Monday and Tuesday. By Wednesday, we start to transition our energy, but really we're still feeling a lot of the vibe from Sunday, creating more distraction, disruption into Monday, and that will carry over into Tuesday. Don't worry, I'm still going to do the hour stuff. I'm just letting you guys know where we're at. Oh, if during the Sun Neptune square, i.e. also the Gemini new moon square, we had a download, we had some type of information, we had something come through, there is a chance that some of that energy doesn't truly like manifest into something that can be tangible or explained or talked about until the Neptune Mercury square perfects. So again, that can something that happened the previous weekend might not fully like manifest into something tangible and solid until Sunday going into Monday. For other people, This is like falling for a sales tactic. And that sales tactic will lead to disruption, will lead to frustrations, will lead to a situation. There are things going on. The thing about Neptune squares, where Neptune is in the higher place, which that's exactly where he's at right now, it's easy to fall for the sales tactic. It's easy to fall for the manipulation. It's easy to fall for the predatory contractor that's going to come help you with your roof repairs. And all they do is like run off with a check or run off with money from you. Like, it's so easy to fall for predatory tactics. It's kind of scary. And the thing is like, if you're in a vulnerable situation and you just gave up a good portion of your savings or something that you really didn't have to spend, then it will cause an instant disruption. For other people, I've been seeing this more and more with Neptune squares also. If we've had medication changes and we've needed to watch the medications, there's an awareness here, there's other things, because the thing about sometimes when you get a new medicine, that new prescription, and I'm talking about legit medicine from the doctor, not witch doctor medicine like I like to play with. If you go get a new prescription from the doctor, you have to kind of like watch yourself and trial and error it and learn how it affects your body. If you have just recently got on a new medicine, those Neptune squares could also be showing you that this isn't a good medicine for you, that it's either like taking your blood pressure down too low or you're having a side effect. And it's good to be aware of yourself, but it's also good to have people around you aware of what's going on, because if this causes you to act in a way that you wouldn't normally act, somebody else needs to be there to kind of check you, and be like, hey, reality, hey, don't do that. That check would have more likely came on Sunday, whenever the moon, which is right now on Monday morning in Libra, the moon though wasn't right here. And it was in a T square to Neptune and Mercury. So we actually had a whole different element from Sunday that can be carrying into Monday, that can be leading into a disruption and leading into some frustrations and leading to something that is pushing towards something, because it's the first quarter moon. So we are building up. There's a buildup in the energy that really starts to take shape as we get deeper into Monday. After the moon does the square to the sun, the moon's not doing a whole lot. So a lot of the energy of Monday is going to be wrapped really around this Uranus-Mars square, and whatever type of sudden motivation, because this can be a motivating thing. We're finally getting something launched. We're finally breaking through the fog. We're finally getting something going. There can be a very big active energy, but there can also be that phone call from like a family member, from a business partner, from somebody that disrupts the path that you're on. And there's need and necessity to those disruptions. And I have to be super clear about that. Okay. As the day progresses, what's interesting is that the morning of, Mercury is still in that square to Neptune, but he's moving very quickly. By the time we get to Monday evening, Mercury's going to change signs. So this really feels like we have something in the day that we realize, nope, this ain't going to work. Nope, I'm not doing this. Nope, this don't fit. Nope, not, Mercury leaving its square to Neptune and immediately changing signs. It's just like, I'm going to use the medicine example. It's like, okay, we've tried this for 2 weeks and like you're up, down, side to side, left, right, and turning inside out. You don't need this medicine anymore. Especially if this medicine is starting to affect your blood pressure. I keep saying blood pressure because of Mars, and Mars represents, or if it's starting to affect your head because it's Mars and what Mars represents. Mars and the Uranus square. Like, I feel like the Neptune Mercury thing is also feeding into Mars. And I don't know why. There's no true dynamic that's looping those two together. It's something in here that's the internal thing. I feel like there's a disruption But that disruption has a hidden element because Neptune doesn't like to do anything in an easily noticeable way. Neptune likes the cloud. I like to surprise everybody. Some of us don't like surprises, Neptune. By the time we get to about 7 p.m., so this is 6:53, you can see Mercury right here at 29 degrees, 57 minutes, but I bump it one more hour, and we're going to see, here's Mercury, newly in Cancer. After Mercury goes into Cancer, that really does feel like we just made the decision to not continue something, to not deal with something, to call somebody out on their lies, call somebody out on their bullshit. There is an element here that feels very much about like letting something go or ending something based off of the confusion, based off of the disillusionment. Some of you can literally pick yourself up by your bootstraps and be like, you know what? I know exactly what I'm doing and I don't need anyone else's validation. I'm good on my own. I'm good in this moment. I'm good in this situation. And the thing is, baby, you are good. You are good in this situation. So do what you need to do. There's some element to Monday evening that was like breaking us out of the fog, realizing that somebody lied to us, realizing our worth in some ways. With the moon in Libra, there feels like a moment where we need to have balance. And if you meditate and center more with what the moon is representing, we can feel a lot of balance. Maybe not so much immediately on Monday evening. It could actually go into Tuesday. And I have reasons why I'm saying that because we're going to get into Tuesday. So just keep fast forwarding this. Fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. Oh, June 27th, we're going to get to the early mornings, roughly around here. So between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Libra, balance, is going to enter a sextile from Venus. Oh, I have an idea of how I can fix this. Oh, I have an idea of how I can make this right, how I can make this better, how I can deal with this, how we can settle this. That idea, that inspiration can be very internal. Like you can literally wake up feeling different, feeling better at least, because the moon is in Libra and the ruler of Libra, Venus, is in Leo. So the energy we start to wake up to Tuesday morning feels way better than what we were dealing with on Sunday and Monday. And we feel like we can take a step forward. We feel like we can get through. We can work through a situation. Mercury is now in Cancer. Some of us are going to be communicating a need, a necessity, an emotion. We're going to communicate how somebody's been making us feel. Where before, when Mercury was going through that square to Neptune, we might have felt very, very cloudy, like, I can't have this conversation right now. And parts of you are going to feel like you can't have this conversation. Now, Venus is going to sextile the moon, and then the moon is going to oppose Chiron. There is an idea, there is an inspiration of how to fix something, how to heal something, how to work through something, how to get something lined out. Chiron is a fixer. Chiron is definitely a fixer energy. But Chiron is also in Mars' sign. So there's a devil's advocate element there. So here's Venus. Between 5 and 7 a.m. is whenever the moon will have that sextile. And then right after that, the moon is going to oppose Chiron, more exact. That's going to happen between 7 and 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then right afterwards, as the day progresses, the moon is going to enter a sextile from Mars. This is an interesting energy. Uranus has just made a square to Mars. So we just had a sudden technological, crazy, electrifying disruption. Uranus is square to Mars. Mars making a sextile to the moon is going, yeah, let me finish dealing with this and then I'll help you. Let me finish this and then we'll do that. There's an intention that is being stated in some way, shape, or form Monday and Tuesday, more so Tuesday. Venus's sextile to the moon can be an intention, a of something going well, of something being good, of something being grand. And then Mars' sextile to the moon is going to be more along the lines of like, some parts of this isn't going as planned. Some parts of this didn't turn quite the way we thought. Some parts of this were not necessarily understood, and we can be very, very frustrated. Don't worry, I'm going to talk to him. Don't worry, I'm working on it. Don't worry, we're going to deal with something. We're going to be able to talk about it. We're going to work through it. We're going to get the fix. We're going to get the part. We're going to get. We're going to get something accomplished, an intention to do something, an intention to disrupt something, an intention to fix something. An intention is being spoken around this time. I intend to do this. My plan is to go there. You're next on my list. I've got it all worked out. Just be patient. Just be patient. There is some kind of energy that between Mars' sextile to the moon, and then what happens overnight as the day progresses is the moon is going to square Pluto. This is going to be interesting. So I'm going to keep fast forwarding this. The moon doesn't go void. It's just we're dealing with whatever has been coming through. Like I'm saying, that there's still like an after effect of Sunday and Monday as we go through Tuesday. And it's just trying to get things settled down, trying to get our own selves settled down, trying to get through the moment. But we're realizing part of the intention of Mars' sextile to the moon is also a disruption to make us face something, make us go somewhere, make us do something, make us a part of a situation. Remember, Mars right now is like the god of war with his machete going through Leo, going through, fields of wheatgrass and just clearing a path for Venus and what all Venus needs to do. That's what Mars is doing. He is full steam ahead. I got goals. I got plans. I got stuff to do. You ain't going to stop me. There's something in the energy that in our goal, in our plan, in our method, in the path, that for some people, we're going to be very, very triggered the night of. So now I've fast forwarded the screen. We are technically on Wednesday. We're at June 28th, but we're in the overnight hours. So overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. And the moon is going to perfect a square to Pluto. And I want to be really clear about this. The reason I'm feeling like these two are connected, Mars, traditional ruler of Scorpio, Pluto, modern ruler of Scorpio. Where is the moon about to go after the moon perfects its square to Pluto? Scorpio. There is something that makes us change. We either make the decision to change something, to transform something, to get something fixed, to get something solved, to get something put together, to get something going in a certain way, or that Mars sextile to the moon was a disruptive thing going, hey, so-and-so's in town. Hey, so-and-so's out of jail. Hey, so-and-so. And it puts the seed in letting you know that there's going to be a disruption, letting you know that we need to face something, that we need to overcome something. This can be about a power struggle, somebody from the past that has held power over you, somebody in the past that once triggered large amounts of fear, somebody that you remember a certain way, but the way that you remember them is not the way that they are now. Health decline, their own internal healing, their own changes, but there is a need to face something that can very much instigate fear with the moon square to Pluto. Now, this happens early morning on Wednesday. You know those mornings that you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're like, oh, what, it just hit my chest. Oh my God. Like you just sit up awake. You're like, oh my God. You can have that this night. You can have that in this time frame. You can be like, oh my God. In my case, the dog usually hops on the bed. It scares me awake a couple times. Now, hear me out on this. For some people, Wednesday is going to be internally busy. For other people, Wednesday is going to be externally busy. There's going to be a lot of things that are kind of going on. So let me bump this forward. After the moon perfects its square to Pluto, it's going to go into Scorpio. That's going to happen roughly between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. So we get the trigger. We wake up in a cold sweat. We got the trigger. And then right afterwards, the moon going into Scorpio will make a conjunction to the South Node. This is the last South Node moon conjunction in Scorpio before the nodes change signs, before the dynamic of the nodes changes completely. There is a release instigated in this energy. When it comes to the South Node, it's internal stuff. Hold on. Sorry. When it comes to the South Node, it's very much internal, triggering internal fears, triggering an internal adjustment, triggering something that needs to be purged, that needs to be handled, that needs to be healed, that needs to be released, that needs to be cut off. South Node and Mars, they got an understanding. I would say the South Node is more like the feminine Mars energy. So Persephone with her hair and with the sword. There, with a weapon, I should say it that way. There is a need to purge, change, release something. There's a trigger between Tuesday night and Wednesday. And I feel like once we get into Wednesday, there's a whole different dynamic in the energy. Now, the other thing that once we get to Wednesday that I want to bring up now that I didn't really bring up on Monday is that we're also in the final days of Neptune being direct. So some areas for us, we feel like we need to purge and release and let go. We really are letting a lot of things go. Some people were getting cut off, like literally like, we ain't gonna be friends no more. I don't need you as a roommate. I don't need you in my life. Like, this is the type of cutoff energy that starts to erupt. Some of us are going to feel like we need to internally change something in ourselves or for ourselves. But we are triggered. Triggered from the moon square to Pluto, and we are triggered by the moon's conjunction to the South Node. Now, hear me out. I'm going to tell you just how busy the moon is going to be. And for some people, after we wake up and we've had our coffee, you saw me drinking mine. After we woke up and we've had our coffee, we're going to be busy. For other people, you're going to be aware. I don't want to say as busy. It really comes down to like what this rules for you. So here we go. The moon squared Pluto, moon went into Scorpio, moon hit the South Node. A few hours later, the moon is going to hit a trine from Mercury. So here's Mercury, trine the moon. Hey, just checking in. You doing okay? Hey, I wanted to give you an update. This is what's going on. Hey, I wanted to let you know. Hey, we're going to meet today. Hey, this is going to happen today. Hey, this is going on. Hey. And you've already been triggered with the moon going through Scorpio. Some of you, you're the messenger going, hey, you okay? Do you need anything? You want some coffee? You want to go to breakfast? You want to hang out? You want to go for a walk? You need something? Just letting you know where I'm at. Just letting you know we're meeting. Just so you know this is going to happen. As the day progresses, the moon is going to also enter a trine from the sun at nearly the same time as Saturn. Now, if you watched the June month ahead video, I brought this up then because I felt like this was important back then. Like, there's something very, very much about transition and release and letting go and fixated things, but there's an emotional conversation. And the thing is, Saturn is newly retrograde. Saturn turned retrograde during the new moon in Neptune. New moon in Neptune. Sure, the new moon in Gemini squaring Neptune. That's the day that Saturn turned retrograde. That's the day Saturn turned something around. or internally we felt the need to turn something around, to not do something anymore, to let somebody go. We turned around in a situation. Many of us were in conversations with somebody else and like, you know what, just never mind. It's not worth it. Now, whether they listen to you or not is a whole different story, but in some ways we're just like, I'm done. I'm tired. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't care about it anymore. Just leave it alone. It's not worth it. In some ways, this is going to be like you getting the message that even though you told somebody it wasn't worth it, they still pulled through and followed through and did something. The sun is in the reactive emotional sign. It's in Cancer. And we are meant to nurture something. We are meant to profess how we feel. We are meant to identify the surface level emotions. But what is Saturn doing? Newly retrograde in the deep Pisces level emotions, deep emotions, surface emotions, deep emotions. Where is the moon? It's in Scorpio. It's in the fixed emotions. Fixed emotions, the best way I can really describe them for a lot of people is like how you feel about certain members of your family. I am a grandma's girl, 100%. My grandma hung the moon and stars. I love her to this day. I miss her every day. My love for her will never change. Her role and her importance in my life will never be altered because she was so important for so many years. Fixed emotions, the emotions that never change. They can evolve, they can deepen, they can do other things, but whenever it comes to like the constantness, it's like the Mississippi River. It's constant, it flows, it goes, it's doing what it wants to do. Fixed emotions. There is a reactive energy to deep hidden things that must be turned around, that must be reviewed, and must be reshaped. And then the moon is in Scorpio. And it's like trying to determine, do I feel this deeply, or am I just reacting to the surface? Am I reacting to how they are? There are emotional questions. And the thing is, I feel like for this particular energy, it's once the moon, because the moon's not done yet, hits this opposition to Jupiter, that we really get a difference in the understanding. There needs to be support. There needs to be a stability. Saturn is in Jupiter's sign. The longer we have the conversation, the longer we work something out, the longer we work through a situation, the more stability we will be creating. The moon's opposition to Jupiter, it all comes down to like, what does Pisces rule in your chart? What does Taurus rule in your chart? And these two things are very much in areas of the sky that we will be revisiting, because Saturn is now retrograde, but Jupiter's in shadow and Venus is in shadow. So Venus rules Taurus. That's where this part's coming up. But a lot of what's meant to come through emotionally right now, it's going to be tied to that Venus retrograde energy. There's going to be the need to do something, to handle something. This can also have to do with the care of authority figures, the care of elders more so. We can also find ourselves in a situation, I'm a Scorpio rising, the moon's in Scorpio. So this can be like, I'm talking to one person from a long distance, another person that has more experience, and I'm trying to, I'm getting two sets of information here, and the decision that needs to be had doesn't necessarily become clear until the moon hits that opposition to Jupiter, because we need somebody that has a stable insight that's not reacting from emotion. And that is a big energy that I feel like a lot of us need to get to. Now, some of us, we're going to be the stable person. We're going to get that phone call going, I don't know what's happening. The doctor said this, and mom says she doesn't care anymore, and I just don't know what to do. Grandma's not feeling well. Nobody wants to help me. I need help. Some of us were Jupiter, and we are the stable one. We are the one giving experienced knowledge, because Saturn is in Jupiter's sign, eliminating the fog. But not only that, Jupiter is going to have a sextile from the sun that is still perfecting. Saturn's going backwards. There's a decline, there's a decrease, there is a turnaround, there is a reshaping that needs to be had with tradition, with elders. There is a shift in this area. Jupiter is direct. The sun is always direct. If we ever have the sun go in retrograde, we have a whole different set of problems. But Jupiter in this area is offering support for longer than just the moment, but actually for the next few days. It's offering support, it's offering stability, it is giving hope in a lot of ways to an area that is reactive. So some of us wear the support, some of us were dealing with other people reacting, some of us are the ones reacting. We're getting fresh insight and fresh knowledge. We're discovering the topical layer of something. And Jupiter is there saying, I got you. I've seen this before. I've been here before. I know how you feel. I understand how you feel. This is where we're at. It's a very busy day, and there's going to be a lot of people in their feelings on Wednesday and still on Thursday. I got to be clear about that. For some people, this is going to be all internal. For other people, this is going to be very much external. We're going to get the call that something's going wrong, and we're hopping in the car completely unplanned because we're driving 5 states away. And we need to deal with something. We need to handle something. We need to go help somebody. We need to be there for somebody. We need to be there for our family, with our family, because of our family. We are hopping in the car and we're going towards our dreams, and we're going to 3 or 4 states away because we're about to go start our new job, or we're about to go to school, or we're about to do something that starts a whole new cycle in our life, because we've been in a timeline of transitions for freaking ever now. I've literally been like slowly saying this to you guys. I started saying it in May. I'm saying it even more so in June. We're weaving timelines together and we're transitioning. There are actions in the transitions. And more people, the deeper we've gotten into June, are starting to really feel, oh my God, there's a transitioning happening. That's maybe not the word, that there's shit going on. Yes, I am aware. I told you shit was going to happen. Y'all don't listen. I'll behave. All right. We're going to go from Wednesday, the 28th, into the 29th. So after the moon perfects its opposition to Jupiter, we're just kind of rolling throughout the rest of the evening with everything else that's been going on. We're talking some things out. After you have that opposition to Jupiter, a lot of us are going to feel a lot better about a situation. We're going to feel relief. We're going to feel supported. Or the moon's opposition to Jupiter could also be like, okay, I've got both of their inputs. Now I need a decision. Now I need to deliver a decision. And that can be what that is too. The moon's opposition to Jupiter can be like, okay, I've made a decision. This is how we're going to go. And that decision is what creates the stability. That decision to connect, decision to commit, that decision is what really amplifies how the stability continues these next few days. Okay. Going into Thursday, the 29th, of course, the moon is still in Scorpio. We're going to keep fast forwarding it for a little bit. And the other thing that's going on is that the sun's trine to Saturn, it's going on Wednesday, and it's going on even more on Thursday. It continues. So whatever was just going on, whatever decision we just made, whatever we're trying to discover, whatever reaction we are having, it's not a one and done thing. We are still dealing with this on Thursday. We are still dealing with the effects of something on Thursday. We are still dealing with the decision, the turnaround, the change, the adjustment on Thursday. It didn't go away. Just because we want it to go away doesn't mean it's going to go away. Now, as this continues, I'm going to just keep bumping this forward. We are into Thursday, but I want to get this just to one part of the sky. There's one major transit to Thursday that I want to bring up. And this is roughly it. Okay. So basically I have it right here. 4 and 6 p.m., Venus is going to square the moon in Scorpio. Right afterwards, the moon is going to oppose Uranus. But really, the moon, the way it is right here, is it kind of activates a T-square. So here's Venus, here's the moon, here's Uranus, T-square. So there's an energy here of like, I have an idea, I have a solution, I have news, I have an alternative, I have something. And this can be very exciting. But I feel like there's something about Thursday evening that kind of plants the seed towards the idea, towards the solution in the moment, that brings forth some excitement, that brings forth an adjustment, that brings forth new promise in the weekend. But this idea, this suddenness, because it is Uranus, this sudden adjustment, this sudden change, this sudden enlightenment energy, there's a spark and there's an idea that comes through. The Sun and Saturn are still very much in their trine. They're starting to separate. And as soon as they separate, what happens? The Mercury, I do that all the time. Mercury joins in, and Mercury will also be in a trine to Saturn. And it's like realizing where something needs to change, realizing where there's a turnaround, having somebody give insight to a decline, to a change, to an adjustment. This can be about an elder. This can be about an authority figure. Like we're getting enlightenment. Oh yeah, they've always been that kind of hot-headed. They've always had issues with their temper. They have just had better control in the last few years, but now something in the energy made them lose their mind again. Made them a little crazy, brought some old things up to the surface, brought up some old emotions, brought up some things that really shook them up. And you're suddenly getting enlightenment from another person. Like, oh yeah, they've always been that way. That's always been an issue. That's always been a thing. Oh, we can be dealing with that around this time. The moon is going to square Venus. The moon is going to oppose Uranus. Venus can also be the one implanting the idea like, oh, hey, we're going to go here. If you want to come, you can bring somebody with you. And the moon's opposition to Uranus to be like, hey, you want to go to a concert? You want to go somewhere? You want to go do something? You want to do something out of the box? That's not a bad idea. That's not a terrible idea. I actually like this idea. Leah, let's do something different. Let's change it up. Let's do something this weekend. Notice I said that. Let's do something this weekend. Okay. Moving this forward, we're going to go into the 30th. The busyness of Thursday is just carrying over from Wednesday. The busyness of Friday is going to be a whole different ball game. So hear me out. Oh, let me back this up again. Mars is also going to square the moon. This happens real late in the evening on the 29th. I forgot about this. I was so excited about Venus and Uranus. I was like, oh yeah, Mars. Mars can throw some kinks in the plan. However, Mars rules Scorpio. So Mars can also just be imposing his will in this area. This is how much has been done. This is what's left. This is my intent on how to get something going. I need your help. I can't do it this weekend. What do you mean you can't do it this weekend? I can't do it this weekend. I've already made other plans. Okay, well, if we don't do it this weekend, then other things aren't going to happen. Other things aren't going to go to plan. We have to get parts of this done. And there can be an activity that's very, very necessary that can disrupt plans if you don't know it. This can also be as simple as, I'm going to go on a date with Uranus. This is so exciting. It's a date. And Mars would be like, why would you want to go on a date with Uranus? Why would you want to do that? Why do you want to care? And it challenges the moon, making the moon think, making the moon realize. This can also be a breakup. I broke up with Uranus. I'm never going to talk to him again. Why would you do that? Why did you think that was a good idea? And it's something that kind of like makes you question. This can be a disruption. This can be a challenge. This can also just be a seed of like, hey, we need to do this. It really kind of comes down to how this plays out in your chart. Moving this along, we're going to now get into the 30th. We're going to get into Friday. The moon is going to enter a trine to Neptune. And here's what's interesting. It's on the 30th, and it's roughly about 12 hours after this point. The moon is, right now, the moon is in a trine to Neptune, but within about 12 hours, Neptune turns retrograde. There is an understanding to a medicine, to a fog, to a substance, to a vice. There is an understanding in this moment, in this energy. There can be a nostalgia. Hey, do you remember when we talked about this? Do you remember whenever we were talking about this? Do you remember our plans? Do you remember whenever I was saying before, like, hey, I really want to talk this out with you. I've got an idea and I really want to talk to you, but you had your head up your ass. Things happen that way. Yeah, I kind of remember that. Okay, great. I would like to talk to you about that now. I would like to enlighten you to some things. I would like to bring you up to speed. Some of us were trying to connect with people that we haven't talked to in a long time. And that's exactly what we have to do, is we have to get them up to speed. And there's something about Friday, between the moon's trine to Neptune, and then a few hours later, the moon will sextile Pluto. It's like talking about an intention, talking about an idea, talking about a dream, talking about something that we were working on, something that we were trying to create. There's a creation vibe right now. The moon is the one impressing its will onto Neptune. So this is very spiritual. This is very much about creation. There can very much be about something, with the occult or alternative medicine or your spirituality, but there's an impression here. Like, do you remember when I was starting this? Do you remember when I was trying to do this? Well, this is how far it's come. This is what far I've made advances. This is where our changes are. This is where things are going. That kind of conversation might not be happening at 4 something in the morning, 5 something in the morning. It can be happening a little bit later. And that's whenever I feel like the moon's sextile to Pluto makes a difference. We want to talk about this. Some of us are going to wake up very, very inspired, feeling very, very lovey-dovey and like a very romanticized energy. We're just kind of feeling that vibe. We kind of can get caught up in it. And with the moon sextile to Pluto, it's realizing like how much things have changed between you and another person. Things have changed in a situation. Seeing the change and the transformation of another person, but realizing it's been for the better. Doesn't have to be negative, but there is something that is shifting our perspective. There is an area that has been clouded, that the cloud is going to change. And considering it now that the moon is the one imposing onto Neptune right before Neptune turns retrograde, it feels like parts of the conversation that requires change and requires transformation and requires these things, it like removes the veil. It removes the fog, the shroud. It takes something. We've had the wool over our eyes. We've been the horse with blinders for so long. I'm like, I'm just going to focus on this. If I look at everything else, then I'm going to get distracted. So I can only focus on what's in front of me. Some of us, we've been the ostrich with our head in a hole. And we're just starting to finally realize we can pull our head out of the hole. It's so weird to say it this way, but there is a bit of a clarity, but this clarity is romanticized in some way. Now, there's a specific reason why I say clarity. We're going to keep it bumping. The moon is going to go into Sagittarius. This happens roughly, I had it written down. Where'd it go? Between 10 and 10:30, given where the moon's at right now. 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m., right in the early mornings, the moon's going to go into Sag. At the same time, Mercury has been going through that trine to Saturn, but if you also notice, Mercury is getting very, very close to its conjunction to the sun. Clarity, something coming to light, something coming to the surface, something being understood. this new thing that is being understood, this new thing that is coming to light, this new information, this new knowledge, this new diagnosis, this new verdict, this new paperwork, this new offer, this new documentation, realization, whatever it is a part of what removes the fog, removes the veil. It's a part of what offers stability. I'm bringing that up again because, one, now the moon is in Jupiter sign. So Neptune's in Jupiter sign, Saturn is in Jupiter sign, and the moon is in Jupiter sign. The moon is in Sag. Saturn and Neptune are in Pisces. Jupiter is still in a sextile to the sun. This has been going on for a few days now. The things that came through since the moon's opposition to Jupiter 2 days ago in Scorpio are offering enlightenment, realizations. It's offering clarity. It's offering opportunity. It's offering tangible forms of change. We're reacting, Mercury and the Sun are in Cancer, to a deep-seated turnaround, Saturn retrograde in Pisces. This turnaround is giving new grounded stability. The transition and the conversations that are being had, new grounded stability. Much of what happens these next 2 days after the moon goes into Sag is very much going to be the energies feeding through Jupiter. Hear me out on that. This is not a negative. I actually like the way next week ends compared to the way the last 2 weeks have ended. I know. I'm going to keep bumping this by hour. Of course, the moon's still in Sag. Here is Mercury. Here's the Sun. They're both at 8 degrees. They're getting very, very closer. They are still in a trine to Saturn. They are in this sextile to Jupiter. This clarity, again, is about turning around, turning something around, turning around an old leaf. If this has to do with an elder, we can see the change. We could see a decline. We could see opportunity to grow. Sometimes what we actually see in the turnaround is the mindset change. Now, I'm from the South. I don't hide that. I have seen the mindset changes of elders before. I've seen that in my own life in the way that they view me, but I've also seen that in the way that they view like the standards of how they grew up. Because whenever a lot of our elders grew up, it was completely normal to act like a bigot, to be a prick, to be a racist. Once you show certain lights to people, they can kind of go, oh, that was not what I meant. That's not right. I realize I was wrong. I realize I was ignorant. I realize I did not have the right knowledge. I did realize that I didn't actually learn anything on my own, that more so I was following the lead of another person. That's the kind of turnaround that can also happen with Saturn and Pisces right now, is a turn of old traditions based off new information and new enlightenment. So you get a good old redneck grandpa that loves their baby girl, their granddaughter, and granddaughter comes home and goes, this is my girlfriend. You're like, what? Listen, grandpa, you'd rather her come home with a girlfriend than a boyfriend. You're less likely to want to harm the girlfriend. I'm going to use like basic talk for my redneck talk, and you rednecks know exactly what I was just saying. There is clarity. There's something that is shifting, something that is challenging the viewpoint of an authority figure, of an elder, of a decision. There's a conversation that is being had. I'm going to keep this going. In the late hours of the 30th, so this is still Friday, between 10 p.m. and midnight, the moon in Sagittarius is going to square Saturn. This moon square happens right as the cazimi is perfecting. So again, challenging an authority figure, challenging an elder, shifting the idea, shifting the tradition, shifting their mindset. Where are the moon and Saturn? In Jupiter's sign. What is Jupiter doing? Offering stability to that Mercury cazimi, offering guidance, offering lessons, offering certainty in other ways, creating new stability. New stability in our emotions, new stability in our beliefs, new stability in the way that we see our lives, and the new stability in the way that we see the things that we are creating, the things that we are doing. We are gaining perspective, shifting a perspective, shifting the way that we see another person. We are seeing another person shift and change in front of us. And this shift and change is going to offer a lot of clarity of how things are going to continue. Whether they're letting something go, South Node in Scorpio, or they're moving towards a new path and a new trajectory, North Node in Taurus. Challenge it. Tell Grandpa he wrong. Racism is done. All right. I'm moving this forward. We're going to get into Saturday, which is July the 1st. Holy crap, we're talking about July. I don't know about all that. I don't like it. Now, the other thing about July 1st and 2nd, there is another set of transits that their energy starts on Saturday, but it doesn't actually perfect until Sunday. And some of the things that perfect between Saturday and Sunday will carry over into Monday, and it'll even carry over into Tuesday. So what that means is that some of the things that start to like fall into place, that start to take shape, the little, adjustments that's going on in the air, they're not just about one area of life, and they're going to have a lingering effect over the next few days. So for some people, whatever is going on Saturday and Sunday, like, they're going to take you through the holiday. They're going to take you through the 4th. Many of us are going to be dealing with some of the transits and dealing with certain situations and dealing with certain connections that we wouldn't normally deal with. Some of us are feeling certain things fall into place, and that's not a negative. Okay. The Mercury Cazimi perfected overnight, Friday into Saturday. So for some people, we're getting clarity the night before. For other people, we're getting clarity the next day. Whatever comes through, not everybody's getting challenged at 10 something at night. And if you're at a different time zone, then you could very much be getting challenged Friday night, just not at the same time that I said. Time zones are fun. We're going to keep moving this forward, getting a little bit deeper into Saturday. The Sun and Jupiter, they're going to be in the sextile. They've been in a sextile for a few days. They will continue to be into a sextile all the way into Sunday. So again, a lot of these last few days have been trying to work towards a stability, getting clarity into a situation, getting clarity in how we've been reacting to a situation, getting clarity in how we previously viewed a situation, having that view turn around based off new information and new clarity and the new things that are coming through. The moon's going to be in Sag all day on Saturday. And the other thing that's starting Saturday going into Sunday is Uranus square Venus. Remember what I said a couple days ago when the moon was still in Scorpio? I'm like, we're going to do something this weekend. We can get together this weekend. We can make a plan and state an intention to connect, to do something crazy, to do something a little out of the box, to do something we've never done before. Go somewhere with a very hopeful, boastful attitude involved. Yeah. There was a seed planted during that T-square between Venus, Uranus, and the moon and Scorpio. There was a seed planted a few days ago, and now that seed is perfecting. Now, for some people, that was an idea of how to fix something, how to deal with something, how to address something. For some people, that was agreeing to a date. I want to get super clear on that one. For some people, that was reconnecting, suddenly reconnecting with loved ones, suddenly reconnecting with people that we have very Venusian, heartfelt energies to. The moon was in Scorpio. We're talking about those long-term fixed emotions. So again, the way that you love certain members of your family, the way that you love your friends from your childhood. I have a firm understanding in life that if you've been a really good friend of mine for over 10 years, baby, you are family. You ain't a friend no more. You are uncle, you are auntie. I'm your kids' auntie. I have 15 nieces and nephews in real life, but godchildren, oh my gosh. just it's a circle. I have a lot of just adopted nieces and nephews. I have a lot of adopted family. That type of energy. It's just like we're doing things, we're connecting, and some of this is going to be out of the box. Some of this will be very unexpected. Some of you are going to agree to go on a trip or drive somewhere or go somewhere and meet somebody, and that person you weren't even talking to a week ago, you'll be like, wait, you're going where? You're doing what? What's going on? What? Yeah, I'm going to go out of town. Why? Because I'm going out of town. Uranus square to Venus is going to be very exciting. Now, the thing is, we get 3 Venus-Uranus squares because Venus goes retrograde and will come back, hit it again. When she turns direct, she'll come back a 3rd time. So literally we'll go through another one right around the first week of August, the Venus-Uranus square, but Venus will be going backwards. And then later in September, late September, we'll have our 3rd Venus-Uranus square. This Venus-Uranus square feels good. It feels like we're having a gain. We're having a very strong dynamic. We're very, very hopeful. The moon is in Sagittarius, a very boastful energy, joyful energy. What is Jupiter doing? The ruler of Sag, the ruler of where the moon is at. Where is Jupiter doing? It is supporting the sun in Cancer. We are offering stability. We are gaining new insight. We're having a new emotional connection in a lot of ways. We're reacting to new information. This does not have to be negative just because I said the word react. Some people are getting triggered. I hopefully not too many, but there can be some triggers too. Moving this along. Uranus is, again, he's the modern ruler of Aquarius. He is the liberator. He is the breaker of chains. He breaks us out of the fog. He breaks us out of the mold. He is technology, lightning type energy. Uranus is in Venus's sign. And Venus is very empowered in Leo, girl power energy. I am strengthened. People are recognizing me. People are seeing me for how good I've done and where the work has been. We're starting to shine. We're gaining attention in many ways. There's a lot of people, as Venus has been in Leo, they're just like really flocking towards new individuals. The big one that I've noticed since Venus has been in Leo is like Matt Rife, the comedian, which is funny because like I like Wild and Out. Wild and Out is, you could tell they're all mutable placements for one. Like they're all Pisces, Sag, and Gemini placements for sure. But I like Wild and Out because like there's a creativity and there's a flow to it. And if I need just to hear something, but not necessarily put like all my attention into watching it, like I can just listen to it and it doesn't make me overthink because I'm an overthinker. Thank you, Mercury and Gemini. I am an overthinker. I know who Matt Rife is. I like that show because of watching it for so long. I watch it on YouTube. So you can go back and you can like Google Matt Rife on Wild and Out. And he is exactly that goofy, dorky little kid that he says in his stand-ups, like, dude, I didn't look like this forever. I've been looking like this for like 2 years now. He's serious because he really did look like the little goofy kid from Ohio, Iowa. Which one is he from? One of those two. Cornfields. One of those two. I think it's Ohio. So it's a great example. A lot of us are suddenly flocking towards another person, towards a new person, towards a new energy. We're gaining interest in a whole new area. There's a new stars, so to speak, new celebrities, new gurus. There are new people that are rising in this occasion. They're having a lot of gains. This is one of those examples where those gains can kind of hit a high point. There is a gain in the energy, a sudden gain, a massive gain. Trending would be another way to look at it. But whatever's trending is very Venusian. It's something that gives us comfort. It can be food, it can be music, it can be laughter, it can be poetry, it can be with a loved one. We can be suddenly having a connection or a reconnection with a loved one in this energy. If it's not a new connection, or if it's not an existing connection, like being rekindled, and if it's not like the starlight trajectory type of energy, what this can actually be is a really good energy for a first date. I want to be super clear about this. You agreed to go on the date a few days ago, whenever the moon was still in Scorpio, but you told your girlfriend, hey, I'm going to go on a date on Saturday and I need you for my check-in person, because we females do this. I say we, I don't usually, well, I do this. No, I do this with my buddies. I was like, hey, I'm going to go out with this dude. Like, who's the dude? I have a lot of guy friends, but I've been that person for girlfriends too. Like, I'm going to go on a date with this person, and they share their location with me. They share their information with me. They share certain things. And you're meant to, like, if you don't hear from me in 15 minutes, call, or I'll check in or something like that. And there can be a check in energy as we continue. Let me get to this point. July 1st, so it's the evening of at 9:53 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, I've just been moving this by hour. Here's Venus in Leo, and it is going to square the moon. Now, the moon has no direct line of sight to Uranus. So this is like the check-in. Hey girl, just how's your date going? I haven't heard from you, call. And you immediately you're getting sent to voicemail like, I'm fine. It's a great date. That's good. Putting my phone on Do Not Disturb is fantastic. Like, everything's going really well. So you have that check-in energy and like, oh, well, that's interesting. Okay. Uranus and Venus can be an exciting first date energy, and it can be very, very easy to get swept into the moment, to be swept into the energy. Everything just feels electric and it's so exciting. This person feels so stable. It's been so many great conversations all week, and we're just flooded in this emotional, boastful energy. Boastful, promising, we're feeling it now. No judgment for anyone that has ever done this. We've all done it at least once. You know those dates that everything feels so right that you end up going home with the person on the first date? I really don't suggest that. Now, some of you are going to do it anyways. You do you. No judgment. But hear me out. Some of y'all are going to get super curious about the date, and you're going to want to go home. There can be things that happen. It can be such a great vibe, and everything continues, and everything is just great, and we're so happy. And there can be some very passionate energy as the moon goes from its trine to Venus to its trine from Mars. Prowess, sexual, very, very sexual energy this day. A lot of passion, a lot of fiery energy, a lot of activity. I can see a lot of my Jeeper friends like doing night wheeling and bonfires this night. I swear, I know it's going to happen. And being 4th of July weekend, I know it's going to happen. Be careful. But if we do a hookup on the first date because everything was so great, but you told your girlfriend after the check-in, let's have brunch in the morning. I'll meet you at our place. See you at 10. Humor me. The moon is going to go into a square to Neptune. And that actually happens between 7:30 and 9:30 in the morning. So I'm not too far off by saying 10. When the moon hits the square to Neptune, it's like talking to your girlfriend, like, oh my God, isn't it such a great date? He's such a great guy. This is so wonderful. And this is right as Uranus, oh man, I hope that didn't mess the screen up. Uranus squares Venus. Like, this is whenever it's going exact. Like, oh, you had such a wonderful time. Oh, it was so great. Oh, there's been so much chemistry, sexual energy, and all that. What's his last name? Where does he live? He went back to your place, right? Where does he live? What does he drive? What does he do? Like, you get those basic questions and you're like, oh, I don't know. And then you send that text message going, hey, I had so much fun. This was so great. And then it's crickets for a little while. And what does that do? Whoo, panic. Whoo, confusion. we go down a really quick spiral. Because I know what that does to people and how reactive we can be now that it's Cancer season, this is another reason why I'm saying maybe, just maybe, we don't do the hookups on the first date. Save that for the second and the third. Okay? Because the next morning we will be met with some kind of confusion. We're trying to, keep that energy going. Venus and Uranus are still in their square, but there will be something that kind of gives us a fog the next morning. So if we did the hookup on the first date and then you go meet with your girlfriend at brunch and you're just kind of going, hey, I don't know answers to any of those questions because you didn't talk about that the night before because everything was all chemistry, that wouldn't surprise me. If we're not doing something like that, some people are going to wake up and they're going to start their morning drinking because the moon is in the square to Neptune, and they're going to start first thing in the morning. It's the weekend, no judgment. And it's a holiday weekend, really no judgment. I have seen it plenty of times. There's going to also be that consciousness of just wanting to continue the energy from the night before, but it's not fully clicking and you don't fully know why. Don't read into that. Don't freak out. Don't read into it. Give it a day. Give it a few hours at least, because after the moon perfects its square to Neptune, it's going void, which means we stay in the fog. Now, Neptune is newly retrograde. That's the one thing that I will say is at least there is a whole other element there, but that means now Neptune is moving towards the moon. So we can be trying to get an understanding and Neptune is going, but I don't want you to understand just yet. I don't want you to see everything just yet. I want you to go a little crazy. This can be a little crazy. The other half of this can also be that we're not seeing somebody clearly. The reason they're not answering is because, something as easy as they're at work. Other people, it's not that at all. It's going to be something else. Some people are going to start talking about the past and it's going to be nostalgia. Like, oh yeah, I remember the last time we did this for 4th of July and that we did this. We went here. Do you remember how to get there? I have no clue how we got there. I wasn't driving. It was dark. We were in a 4-wheeler. I have no idea how we got there. So even if we are having a good conversation, there's still going to be some elements of I don't know. Wow, why don't I know? Man, that's crazy. Why don't I remember any of this? Yeah. There will be a bit of a fog the next morning. There will be a bit of a haze, a bit of confusion. So again, do not read into that, especially if it's somebody I had so much fun last night and they're crickets. They're not actually answering. They don't reply. It might take a few hours. It might take a few hours for them to be able to catch up. Some people get calls the next morning. They have to work. They have to do certain things. So they're not rushing towards answering their phone. I have plenty of times that I leave my phone in the house and on the charger, and then I'm outside in the garden for a few hours. So I literally will not answer somebody's messages, and trust and believe they still act crazy, and I'm just the astrologer. Now, once the moon goes into Capricorn, we're building up towards a full moon, but the full moon does not happen on Sunday. It actually perfects overnight Sunday into Monday. The moon is now in Capricorn. It is in Saturn's sign. Saturn is newly retrograde, turning around in this deep emotional level. There is a deep-seated emotional turnaround, a turnaround in the way that we see something, a turnaround in the way that we are seen, a turnaround in certain mindsets, in certain traditions. What I was talking about earlier with all the racism stuff. Sometimes the turnaround is just realizing grandpa cannot always be racist. It's always grandpa, sorry. The moon is in Capricorn. The moon is going to not really make a whole lot of aspects to anything until we get later into the evening, into the overnights. And the thing is, some of us were going to feel some things on Sunday. We're going to feel a lot more grounded. We're going to feel a lot more, serious in our recent experience based off recent events. We're going to have an adjustment based off our beliefs, based off certain things. there can be that disruption, there can be that confusion, but there can also be that confusion can lead to us like making a serious turnaround in ourselves. Like, why did I just hook up on the first date? I hate now this guy ain't even talking to me. Now I'm blocked on Snapchat. Like, he got what he wanted, and you're having a whole different realization. You're still in that moment, you're still trying to like enjoy yourself, but then you're quickly met with a fog and a confusion and things that don't make sense. Just as much as there can be good energy next weekend, there can be the things that don't make sense. There can be the abruptness, there can be the suddenness, there can be accidents, there can be things that completely shift the energy, shift the mindset, shift the connections. The moon going into Capricorn grounds our emotions. We're a little bit less reactive. We're actually a lot more serious and a lot more aware. And for a lot of people, their awareness is what is a part of the shift. Their serious tests, their emotional discovery, the things that have been brought to the surface that has created a turnaround, that has removed a fog, is a part of the full moon's shift and how serious things are going to go. Are we going to feel all of the full moon energy on Sunday? No, but we will feel some of it. This full moon does not feel like a completion. This full moon does feel like a level up. For a lot of people, this feels like an adjustment, a transformation, and a level up energy. And considering Pluto has now went back into Capricorn, I stand by my statement of very much being a transition, a transformation, something that needs to evolve, something that needs to change, Phoenix-like energy. Plutonian people, we evolve and we transform over and over and over again in our lives. There is a transformation. Just because this full moon isn't perfecting exactly on top of Pluto doesn't mean anything. There is still a transformation very, very much in the energy. Oh, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. My dogs are losing their mind now. Great. Oh, I like this week, but I like the end of the week more so than the beginning of the week. I know that some of the disruptions and the chaos that are part of the first part of the week, they are remnants from that new moon. They are a carryover from the Sun-Neptune square. And some of us are going to be, again, very susceptible to other people's lines and other people's stories. Some people were going to be very much like, I'm going to say, led adrift in some ways. Some of us are being manipulated. Some of us are just being more susceptible to manipulation. But I feel like parts of the weekend of the 25th going into the 26th, we can put a check in some of that. We can be checked going, why would you sign this contract? Why would you make these agreements? Why would you want to do this? You didn't do your homework. We need to do something different. And whoever comes into the picture to check you and let you know, this wasn't good, this didn't happen, this can't go this way, it's going to come through. And I think that's a big part of like what alleviates some of the shroud and the fog. And as this week continues, there is an area of our life that has been foggy and it has been clouded. Our judgment has not been clear. And as this week progresses, the way that we saw that moment, the way that we saw that situation, the way that we saw that connection, it will change. Clarity will be offered. Saturn's turnaround is telling us it is time to turn this around. It is time to have these surface level conversations so deep levels of healing can be made. It is time for this adjustment. It is time for these transitions to tighten in the weaving. It is time for things to fully start to come together from one timeline to the other because the dynamic of our energy is transitioning over the next month. And whenever that dynamic shifts going into July, when that shift happens, it takes off like wildfire. fire. I cannot stress this enough. Wildfire spreading type energy. There is a lot to July. And all that remnant part of like making space and getting people out of the way during that Mercury retrograde and the eclipse season in May, that was necessary. Now we're going into a timeline where we're transitioning all these different times of a year and 2 and 6 months ago all into one area. And now as these transitions are happening, some of us have been in a fog waiting for our part of the transition to happen. Those are about to happen. They happen anywhere between these last little days of June going into July. We are transitioning very, very quickly. We are weaving into a whole new timeline. And when we get into that mid part of July, I've been saying like we will start to feel the shift and the change on July 11th. And then it is just going to be an effect afterwards. It's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot that happens in July. Not everything is going to make sense. I know even whenever I do these, like there's sometimes like the episode I did 2 weeks ago going into that new moon in Gemini, I knew I was in a fog. I knew I didn't have all the information. But the thing is like, that's what Neptune does. Like you're not meant to have all the information quite yet. You're not meant to know everything that happens. You have to be okay with not knowing. If you're not okay with not knowing, then you still have an ego problem. If you don't have trust in the universe, then you still have an ego problem. If you can release the ego and actually lead from your soul and understand the things that are coming through and understand when you're being called in certain directions, if you keep having the exact same thing come up over and over and over again, that is because the universe is trying to put something in front of you and tell you, this is where you're meant to go. This is what you're meant to do. And every time you go in another direction, it makes life harder. Purposely. The universe does this because that's not where you're meant to be. That's not who you're meant to be. That's not who you're meant to be with. That's not where you're meant to work. Or if at one point you were meant to be there and everything was great for a few years and now all of a sudden everything is hell and shit, that's because you have outgrown this phase or they have outgrown you in their phase. Because sometimes the issues are coming from the other person. They have outgrown you. They have had a shift. They have had something in their own chart and in their own heart and in their own mind, and they will have to deal with the consequences of their actions, whether that's good, bad, or ugly. You will still hold on. So many of us, we hold on to the idea that, no, we can make this work. We can make everything better. We can get it fixed. Everything has a timestamp. Everything has a necessary timeline. And then adjustments are made. Some of us are really good at launching things and getting something going, but after we get it to the steady pace, we're bored with it. I'm infamous for this. I have helped, and part of this is also my karmic contract stuff from my birth chart. I have helped so many businesses get their business started, get everything running and growing, and then I start hiring my replacements and I go do something else. It wasn't until like the 10th one that I was able to break that cycle and start to do things for myself. I literally, until I broke that 10th one, I didn't think that I could go into business for myself. I didn't think I was worthy of it. And I still, struggle with imposter syndrome even now. But the thing is like every little hiccup tells me like, okay, I know because the universe has given me so many messages. I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. But then whenever I have a hiccup that tells me that you can't record this right now, it's because I'm not going to give all the right information. It's because I'm not giving everything that's necessary. I've missed something. And literally the universe will go, you missed something. Go back. Go redo it. Which is annoying. I don't like to do a job more than once, trust and believe. Like anytime I have to re-record, I get super annoyed. Oh, imagine what I'm like if I'm having to reframe something that I've already framed once before. I'm salty. There's so much to this week that is about bringing things full force, bringing things full circle, revealing them in a different way. There will be a part of this week that we will have a whole new perspective and a whole new clarity to a past situation, to a past fear, to a past moment, to somebody from the past. And there needs to be a turnaround. Some of us, that turnaround isn't even something that is being elected. There is a decline. There will be some of us that are dealing with our elders, that are dealing with authority figures, that they're changing their mind. That's a good way. We're also going to have some people that fall out of place. If people haven't been, doing what they're supposed to do, and they're, leading more with their ego, and now they're getting caught with their pants down. Oh, well, that's interesting. Did you really think you weren't going to get caught? I know a Supreme Court justice that got caught with his pants down, so there's that. Some of us were really going to just see the decline of our elders. People that have been in poor health, that are, they're starting to, it's their body that's turning around. It is their condition that's turning around. And that's going to be a lot heavier for some people. And some of the other things when it comes to Neptune, it's going to be about nostalgia. It's going to be talking about things from the past and the things that you guys used to do together, and how that all worked out. Some people, you're reconnecting with loved ones this week. You're getting a fresh perspective as to why something didn't go correct. Why something didn't go as planned. Why a break and a separation was necessary. You're getting a fresh perspective by the end of this week. And that fresh perspective leads to level ups in the next lunar cycle that happens once we have that full moon in Capricorn. And again, that full moon in Capricorn doesn't even perfect this week. We're building to it on Sunday, but it actually doesn't perfect until Monday. So we have parts of the full moon energy that are coming through that really won't even fully sink in until the next week. And in the weeks following, because I always look at it as lunar month to lunar month. So if it's full moon, or new moon, new moon. I'm personally looking forward to this full moon in Capricorn. I'm really wanting to see just some of these level ups, and considering I collect so many Capricorn placements in jars, I want to see how some of you guys level up and change. It's going to be fun. Anyways, I love and appreciate every single one of you. I know I went on a rant for parts of this, but I think everything that came through this time was very much very, very necessary. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I have been taking calls. I have been taking messages. I haven't done a whole lot of readings this last week, but for obvious reasons, I already explained to you guys, tornadic weather is fun. Just, there's some things we can't control, but hit me up with questions, hit me up with concerns. I will reply to any type of comments that come through. I think most of you just really just go to the Spiritually Bougie page on Facebook and just message me directly, which I appreciate. Just be patient with me, because if I'm doing stuff like this, then the phone is on Do Not Disturb. I will see you guys soon. Subscribe.